Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 23 based on novel. So let's start. You say that you can break my brilliant flame dragon armor. In the air, Shan revealed his eyes from under his armor as a mocking smile flitted across them. It was likely that he could not help but laugh at Lindong's words. If he put all his strength in this dragon armor, he would be able to receive a blow from even a super samsara stage expert. What could this Lindong use to break it? Laughter also echoed around the square while expressions of amusement appeared in their eyes. All of them wished to see just what kind of technique Lindong was going to use to break this brilliant flame dragon armor that even they were helpless again. Within the square, Lindong merely grinned. He ignored their doubt and laughter. His hand extended with two of his fingers sticking out like a slender short sword. Black flashes of light and a lightning arc seemed dance between his fingers. I'm really interested to see just how you are going to break my dragon armor. Shan laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with pride. Quickly after, dazzling red light spread from within his body, covering the sky and land. The armor on his body sparkled and faintly looked a little translucent. At a glance, it appeared just like an incomparably gorgeous fiery red crystal. Lindong slightly lowered his eyes while the black light and lightning arcs on his fingertips grew increasingly concentrated. Traces of energy shuttled between his two fingers. This continued for a dozen breaths before his two fingers took on the colors of black and lightning. The most peculiar thing was that his fingers appeared as though they were condensed liquid, and there was even black lightning liquid dripping from them. However, these droplets vanished in an instant. If one was to look carefully, one would see two barely discernible symbols slowly bobbing up and down within the churning black lightning liquid while the surrounding space seemed to ripple. The laughter originally present in the square had gradually turned to silence. Many bewildered and uncertain gazes looked towards Lindong's now strange-looking fingers. They were finally able to detect a dangerous ripple from it. Behind the fiery red crystal armor, Shan's eyes gradually turned grave at this moment as waves of increasingly powerful yuan power fluctuations surged out from within his body like a tide. The entire place was completely silent. In the next instant, Lindong suddenly lifted his head amidst the silence. Black lightning surged in the depths of his pitch-black eyes, giving it a strange appearance. His body was like an extremely taut bowstring that had suddenly been let loose at this moment. Everyone could only see successive after-images sweeping past in the square. When they focused once again, they saw the space in front of Shan suddenly distort and a ghost-like figure appeared. Brilliant Flame Guard. Shan's low and deep cry resounded at this moment. Fiery red light swelled, transforming into magma which started flowing downwards. Eventually, it transformed into a magma dragon sculpture that wrapped around Shan. This dragon-shaped sculpture was composed of fiery red magma and was covered all over in agile-looking contours. Its scales flickered, giving off the feeling of indestructible toughness. The dragon sculpture was reflected in Lindong's eyes, however, his expression did not change. His two liquid-like fingers thrust forward. In that instant, it was as though the space itself was crumbling at his fingertips. Lindong's black lightning-like liquid fingers headed straight for the dragon sculpture. The moment they touched, resplendent light seemed to explode. Yet, everyone widened their eyes and focused intently at the point of contact. Soon after, they were stunned to see Lindong's fingers directly penetrate the dragon sculpture. Lindong's forward-charging body suddenly stopped and the bright light gradually scattered, revealing two almost touching figures. Both of them were as still as a statue. Crack! However, this frozen moment did not last for too long. After which, everyone saw many cracks slowly spread on the sculpture as pieces of magma continuously fell from the sculpture. Finally, it was completely destroyed with a bang. After the collapse of the dragon-shaped sculpture, everyone could clearly see that Lindong's two bizarre fingers, which dripped black lightning liquid, had gently landed between Shan's brow. The dragon armor originally present there had melted, creating a large hole. That appearance was as though all Lindong needed to do was to extend his finger a little further in order to pierce Shan's head. No one believed that Yang Shan's physical body stood any chance against the two bizarre fingers that had shattered the dragon sculpture and the brilliant flame dragon armor. Within the plaza, Yang Shan seemed to be well aware of this fact too. Hence, with the two bizarre fingers less than half an inch from his forehead, his body did not dare to make any funny movements. The only thing that changed were those eyes of his that were now filled with unconcealable terror. He was basically unable to respond in that split-second moment earlier. By the time he recovered, he realized that his strongest defense had been easily broken by Lindong's two-finger attack. You have won. Yang Shan was stunned for quite some time before dejection finally rose in his terror-filled eyes. He did not know how Lindong had managed to do it, but reality was cruel. Lindong gave him a friendly smile as the two fingers dripping with black lightning liquid gradually returned to normal. Next, he withdrew his hand and sighed in his heart. This Yang Shan was indeed a difficult opponent. Lindong was actually forced to use his strongest technique in order to break his defense. However, the attack which combined the power of two ancestral symbols had greatly exhausted him. After all, even the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had nearly suffered a great loss due to this attack of his. It was not surprising that it had been able to break Yang Shan's defense. However, even the present Lindong was unable to use such an attack in succession. My strength is still unable to keep up. Lindong pursed his lips, feeling little helpless in his heart. Although he possessed many techniques, it might be precisely because he had diverted his attention to these techniques that led to the lackluster progress of his strength. In a way, this was akin to gaining something at the expense of something else. All the more reason why he needed to borrow the Dragon Tribe's ancient dragon transformation pool to propel himself towards another breakthrough. This fellow, he actually broke Elder Brother's strongest defense. Yang Feng's expression became completely grave when he saw this outcome. By the side, the expression of Yuan Xin's exquisite face also a little emotional. Even she felt helpless against Yang Shan's defense. Yet, this Lindong had directly broken it. It seems that Lord Qinji's evaluation is indeed somewhat reasonable. Yang Feng laughed bitterly. He was an extremely proud person. However, even he had no choice but to admit that they had really made an error in their initial judgment of Lindong. Yuan Qian looked at the now quieter square and merely smiled faintly. These originally haughty young fellows were finally able to lose some of their haughtiness. This was just as well. It allowed them to understand that there was always someone better, and they should not believe that they were superior just because they possessed the bloodline of the dragon tribe. However, this Lindong is actually able to use the power of two ancestral symbols to such a degree. This is really extraordinary. Yuan Qian exchanged a look with the few dragon tribe elders by the side. There was some astonishment in their eyes. The frightening force at Lindong's fingertips earlier did not escape their perception. Thank you for allowing me this victory. Lindong withdrew his hand as the crystal on Yang Shan's body scattered. After which, he smilingly said to the bitterly smiling Yang Shan. Brother Lindong is indeed powerful. I was the one who was blind earlier. Yang Shan was somewhat broad-minded. Although he had been defeated, he still cupped his hands together and laughed. Nevertheless, the attitude of his current self was no longer as indifferent as it had been earlier. It was clearly much better than before. The phrase, strength is king, was an unchanging rule no matter where one was. I will hand my dragon transformation pool spot to Brother Lindong. Many thanks, Brother Yang Shan. Lindong grinned and said. He had a somewhat good impression of this Yang Shan. He might be prideful, but he was not full of himself. You little brats always go about with your noses in the air. Now, you have finally been taught a lesson, eh? Yuan Qian heartily laughed as he walked into the square with the elders. The youths from the dragon tribe around the square shrugged their shoulders. They did not say anything this time around. Lindong's outstanding ability had indeed roused their competitive nature. Looks like they could not afford to neglect their training in future. Since the result is out, we will open the ancient dragon transformation pool 3 days later. At that time, Lindong, Yuan Qian, and Yang Feng will enter the dragon transformation pool. Yuan Qian's golden eyes looked towards the three of them and said, Ha ha, I really wish to see what grade of dragon bone will appear from the dragon transformation pool this time around. Yuan Qian said with great interest. Are there different grades to the dragon bones? Lindong was startled. He was completely ignorant of this. The dragon transforming pool can temper one's bones and strengthen them to an extremely powerful extent. Such strengthening is also divided into weaker and higher tiers. Normally speaking, it is differentiated into top, middle, and low-grade dragon bones. Yuan Qian was unsurprised that Lindong was at a loss. After all, this information was something that only the members of the dragon tribe knew. Of course, the top-grade dragon bone is not the strongest dragon bone. Above it is something known as the ancient dragon bone. These two grades are on two completely different levels. However, only a handful are able to obtain them. Oh. Lindong looked at Yuan Qian with some curiosity. It seemed that he was quite interested in the so-called ancient dragon bone. When Lord Qingji entered the ancient dragon transformation pool back then, the dragon bone he gained was the ancient dragon bone. Lindong wet his lips. Only at this moment did he understand just how powerful this ancient dragon bone was. All right, all of you should head back and rest. The ancient dragon transformation pool will open in 3 days. Yuan Qian waved his hand and said, Let's go and have some fun, brother Lindong. There are many fun things in the dragon tribe. Lindong nodded. However, before he could leave, he was pulled away by a laughing young Shan. Seeing this, Lindong smiled helplessly and could only allow this fellow to pull him away. After which, many youths of the dragon tribe, who were interested in him, clustered around them as they disappeared into the distance. Yuan Qian could not help but chuckle as he watched them leave. Tribe leader, the ancient dragon bone is indeed powerful, but you seem to have forgotten about one last type. An elder of the dragon tribe smilingly watched the large group of youngsters leave before suddenly speaking. Yuan Qian was taken aback upon hearing this. Soon after, he helplessly looked at the elder. Are you talking about the primal dragon bone? It is even rarer than the ancient dragon bone. Do you really believe that it will appear again? That elder laughed dryly and shook his head. This was indeed rather unrealistic. The appearance of an ancient dragon bone was already very satisfactory. As for that primal dragon bone, they should just forget about it. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The entire dragon tribe became much livelier when the 3rd day arrived. That was because the opening of the dragon transformation pool was a relatively major event. After all, if a rare dragon bone appeared, it meant that there would be another dragon tribe member with terrifying potential, and this was considered as a fairly major event for the entire dragon tribe. As the day finally arrived, Lindong felt quite excited in his heart as well. His green heaven materialized dragon skill was currently at a bottleneck. Hence, if he wanted to obtain a breakthrough and attain complete mastery, he must enter the ancient dragon transformation pool and complete the dragon bone transformation. With Du and Dao leading the way, the both of them directly rushed towards the deepest part of the dragon region. The area was filled with a dense, desolate aura, and it was considered as a rare ancient place, which had been completely preserved since the ancient times. Lindong's body flew across the sky. His eyes appeared a little obscure as they swept across the boundless mountain depths. After which, he was able to detect a couple of extremely faint, but unbelievably powerful auras. However, this sensation vanished instantly, and Lindong could not obtain any more information regardless of how he probed. Lindong quietly pursed his lips together in the face of this. If his guess was correct, those auras should belong to those old demons from the dragon tribe, whom the Darkness Master mentioned previously. The foundation that allowed the dragon tribe to stand at the peak of the demonic beast world could only be described as terrifying. At this moment, there were some rays of light occasionally flashing in the surrounding sky, before waves of dragon roars sounded. Huge dragon shadows, which were rarely seen in the outside world, were all over the place. All of them were headed to the deepest part of the dragon region. Clearly, they were after the ancient dragon transformation pool. Although only 3 individuals could enter the pool, being able to witness the pool with one's own eyes was also a fruitful event. Young brother Lindong, we are almost there. Duan Dao suddenly said after traveling for another dozen over minutes. At this moment, his expression became quite solemn. That was because the ancient dragon transformation pool was akin to a holy site in the eyes of a dragon tribe member. Lindong's expression became a little grave upon hearing this. He lifted his head and looked towards the distance, before he focused his pupils. That was because he was able to see some signs of distortion in the air some distance away. Lindong observed the air above the distorted space. Suddenly, he felt his body becoming a little heavier. The surrounding air seemed to have become a lot more viscous, causing his speed to be greatly reduced. Young brother Lindong, it is impossible to fly in the area around the ancient dragon transformation pool. We can only walk over. Duan Dao warned him. Subsequently, he landed on the ground. His toes pressed against the ground, before his body shot 1,000 feet forward. After which, he stepped on a support and shot forward again. Upon seeing this, Lindong hurriedly followed suit. After jumping like fleas for a couple of minutes, the Lindong duo finally landed on the top of a mountain. Their eyes looked forward and they saw a basin surrounded by mountains. A huge black-colored pool surrounded by towering mountains appeared in Lindong's sight. The pool was around 10,000 feet in size. No ripples were present on the pool, which was viscous black in color. Meanwhile, black large trees covered the surrounding of the pool. These large trees were relatively strange. Black scales covered their trunks, reflecting a golden-like luster under the sunlight. Grass covered the surrounding land, looking like numerous scales. As they swayed with the wind, a sharp and cold glint flickered as well. Everything around this pool seemed to have become extremely sharp because of the energy within. That is my dragon tribe's ancient dragon transformation pool. Duan Dao pointed at the huge black pool with a respectful expression on his face. That was because deep within the pool were countless dead ancestors. Lindong's pupils hardened. There was a brilliant light formation above the black pool. Many rays of light shot downwards and sealed off the pool. Nonetheless, there were still waves of frightening energy seeping out from it, causing the yuan power within a 500-kilometer radius to churn in a viscous manner. That was what prevented anyone from flying. Just how terrifying was that energy? Lindong was speechless. It's no wonder the dragon tribe viewed it so seriously. Ha, our dragon tribe has placed a formation to seal the dragon transformation pool, in order to prevent it from seeping out. We will need the tribe leader and 6 elders to act in unison each time we wish to open it. Standing beside him, Duan Dao explained. Lindong nodded. He lifted his eyes and saw that the many surrounding mountains were all packed with people. Meanwhile, Yuan Qian and a couple of people were already standing at the main mountain. Yuan Qian also looked at Lindong when the latter looked at him. He smiled before his gaze once again circled the area as he spoke in a deep voice. The dragon transformation pool is about to be opened. Those who enter should take note that the energy within the dragon transformation pool is extremely potent. Although it possesses the ability to transform one's bones, one will have to endure terrible pain. If one ends up losing consciousness during this process, the energy will end up ripping one's body apart and one's body will end up becoming a part of the dragon transformation pool. Therefore, you must leave the instant you are unable to hold on any longer. Lindong's expression became solemn upon hearing Yuan Qian's words. There was indeed no free lunch in this world. In order to obtain strength, one must pay a price that most ordinary individuals could not afford. Evidently, the dragon bone transformation carried quite a huge risk. Are all of you aware? Yuan Qian looked at Lindong, Yuan Xin, and Yang Feng. I? The 3 of them nodded upon seeing this. Yuan Qian turned his head upon hearing this. He looked towards the 6 elders of the dragon tribe standing behind him, before waving his hand and said, "Open the dragon transformation pool." Yes. 6 elders responded in a deep voice. They waved their sleeves before 6 energy-light pillars erupted from their hands and shot into the formation, which enveloped the dragon transformation pool. With their urging, the formation immediately began to rotate slowly. Those rays of light, which hid the energy ripples of the dragon transformation pool, also began to disappear a little at a time. Yuan Qian pointed his finger forward at this moment before a ray of golden light shot into the formation. After which, the formation emitted a roar. A light formation rose and finally disappeared while it was still 10,000 feet away from the dragon transformation pool. With the disappearance of the formation, everyone could immediately see a black pillar of light shooting out from the dragon transformation pool. After which, it shot into the clouds and space itself was directly shattered by it. Wild gales raged over the land. It seemed as if there were ancient dragon roars being continuously emitted from the ancient dragon transformation pool, before they reverberated across the sky. All the members of the dragon tribe lowered their heads upon hearing these elderly dragon roars. Meanwhile, their faces were filled with respect. Such terrifying energy. Lindong lowered his head as well. His eyes contained a tinge of shock, as he stared at the black pillar of light, which had shot out from the dragon transformation pool. Although there were terrifying energy ripples being emitted from it, which had stirred wild gales, there was still nothing going on with the dragon transforming pool. In fact, not a single ripple was stirred. This strange silence caused one to feel a little wary. Lindong, Yuan Qian, Yang Feng, the three of you should get going. What you manage to obtain will depend on your own fate, Yuan Qian said in a deep voice. At the same time, the many dragon roars spread while being accompanied by a prestige that could not be hidden. Lindong looked at the Yuan Qian duo, who were standing on a mountain a short distance away. They were also staring at the dragon transformation pool with excited and heated eyes. Promptly, they clenched their teeth before they turned into two rays of light and flew directly into the dragon transformation pool, in front of countless pairs of eyes. Both of them charged in without making the slightest noise. After which, the water rippled slightly. Finally, it once again regained its silence. That scene was as though nothing had occurred. Bang! However, this silence was quickly broken. One could see two huge dragon figures floating within the dragon transformation pool. In fact, they seemed to be struggling immensely. Two extremely pained dragon roars were emitted from the dragon transformation pool in an extremely hoarse fashion. The pain from the dragon bone transformation was actually this intense. Young brother Lindong, you should join them. Just hurry and come out if you are unable to hold on any longer. It is nothing to be ashamed of. Not everyone is able to endure that kind of pain. Duan Dao looked at Lindong. From the looks of it, it seems like he had experienced the pain of this dragon transformation pool as well. Lindong nodded his head. Promptly, he took a deep breath before a determined look rose within his dark black eyes. He had finally managed to obtain the opportunity to enter the dragon transformation pool after much difficulties. Hence, he would not retreat no matter how intense the pain was. I will get going, big brother Duan Dao. Lindong let out a low cry. His body shot forward before he charged into the dragon transformation pool, in front of the many pairs of eyes all over the mountain range. Standing on a mountaintop, Yuan Qian looked at the churning dragon transformation pool. Clenching both of his fists, he said, "This is the first time that we have ever allowed a human, with no bloodline relations with the dragon tribe, to enter the dragon transformation pool. I wonder if Lindong will be able to handle it." The dragon transformation pool is something that was created by countless dragon tribes' ancestors. Therefore, the energy within should actively resist a human. Nevertheless, Lindong has practiced the green heaven materialized dragon skill and they should not create an overly major resistance. However, it will still pose an obstruction. Moreover, the pain that he experienced from the dragon bone transformation will be even more intense compared to that of the Yuan Qian duo. After all, the two of them possess dragon bones to begin with. Now, all they need to do is to strengthen their dragon bones upon entering the pool. On the other hand, Lindong must truly replace his bones. An elder softly said. That pain is truly terrifying. Another elder smacked his lips and said with a pitiful expression. Yuan Qian nodded. His eyes suddenly held a tinge of anticipation as he stared at the dragon transformation pool. However, Lindong is no ordinary individual. I really wish to find out what type of dragon bone can a human like him obtain from our dragon transformation pool. Things will get interesting if another ancient dragon bone, similar to that of Qingxi's, appears. Lindong suddenly realized that all the noise in his surroundings completely disappeared the moment he plunged into the dragon transformation pool. In fact, his vision became completely dark. With a grab of his hand, all he could feel was the viscous black water brushing past his hand. Lindong's heart also tensed up at this moment. As his senses quietened down, he realized that there were waves of indescribably wild and violent energy wildly sweeping towards him. A soft sound appeared and Lindong's shirt was instantly turned into dust. Black viscous water were just like muddy layers of soil, as they wrapped around his body. As if he could hear a deafening sound, waves of exceptionally dark energy began to surge forth before they tunneled into his body through every pore. An intense pain immediately followed. Lindong's body tensed up. His green veins bulged and wiggled like dragons on the surface of his skin. Meanwhile, his throat emitted a painful low roar as the black energy swarmed into his body like blades. In fact, it left a mess wherever it passed and even his meridians were severed, leaving his entire body covered with injuries. However, the target of this energy was not his meridians or organs. Instead, it was his bones. The black energy climbed over his bones. Subsequently, Lindong felt as if his bones were tightly gripped by countless large hands. In fact, he was even able to hear clear cracking noises being emitted from his bones. The intense pain resulting from his bones being shattered spread across Lindong's body while waves of throbbing pain attacked his heart. His body twitched intensely at the moment while his throat let out a low roar, and he appeared just like a roaring wild beast. In fact, traces of blood began to surge from within his jet black eyes. Only at this moment did Lindong understand why Du and Dao had a lingering fear towards this dragon transformation pool. This pain was indeed sufficient to cause one to lose one's mind. Lindong, since you do not possess a genuine set of dragon bones, the energy present in this dragon transformation pool will shatter the bones in your body an inch at a time, before they remold them. It is an extremely dangerous process. If you are unable to endure it, you will likely end up becoming part of the energy here. Yang's solemn voice sounded. Clearly, he knew that Lindong was currently in a dangerous situation. At this moment, Lindong was bitterly enduring the assault from that terrifying and intense pain. Hence, he was in no mood to reply Yang. All he could do was to hoarsely reply in his heart. Crack! Another deafening sound was emitted from within Lindong's body. He could sense that the bones within his body were being widely shattered by the black energy lingering over it an inch at a time. Being able to clearly experience one's bones shattering, this sensation truly pushed one to the edge. However, Lindong bitterly clenched his teeth with blood-red eyes. In fact, there was even a trace of blood seeping out from the corner of his mouth. Nonetheless, it was clear that he did not intend to give up. Over all these years, Lindong clearly understood that one must pay a price in order to obtain strength. This was an exchange because there was no free lunch in this world. Waves of intense pain assaulted Lindong's consciousness. Meanwhile, the bones in his body became increasingly fragile with the flow of time. Tiny cracks covered his dense white bones and broke down its tough exterior. Bang! The shattering of his bones lasted for a whole hour. After which, Lindong's body convulsed intensely while a muffled sound was being emitted from within his body. After which, his body softened and collapsed. It turns out that the bones within his body were completely broken down. A vast and mighty black energy surged over while the bones within Lindong's body were about to collapse and formed a huge vortex around him. Following which, black energy continuously tunneled into Lindong's body. Something mysterious occurred the moment the black energy tunneled into Lindong's limp body. In fact, one could see the liquid-like black energy slowly distorting, before they finally formed an extremely complicated sequence and flowed across Lindong's body. As it flowed, the black energy also slowly solidified and vaguely seemed to take the form of a human skeleton, which was exactly the same as before. However, it was substantially different. Waves after waves of majestic black energy continuously tunneled into Lindong's body. Finally, they merged with his gradually solidifying black bones. The process of rebuilding his bones was a rather time-consuming task. 5 days passed before it finally came to an end. After which, the black bones within Lindong's body were completely solidified. His newly formed black bones flickered with a metallic luster. Light flowed over his bones, giving them a relatively mysterious appearance. At these dragon bones, Lindong gently clenched his fist as he felt the frightening strength hidden within his body. Immediately, joy raced through his heart. His suffering had been worthwhile. Your bones are merely ordinary dragon bones. How much it will be strengthened will depend on what happens next. However, the energy present in this place is a little resistant towards you. Therefore, perhaps, it would not be an easy task for you to absorb them. In that case, your dragon bones will not be strengthened by a major extent. Yang said. Resistance? Lindong laughed in his heart upon hearing this. In that case, I will have to do it by force. You plan to use the devouring ancestral symbol? Yang asked in shock. To begin with, the energy in this place was extremely intense. Just absorbing it normally would bring one's body tremendous pain. Just how intense would the pain be if Lindong was to use his devouring ancestral symbol to forcefully devour them? This is my only opportunity to enter the dragon transformation pool. Since I have finally made it here, I will naturally not be satisfied with an ordinary set of dragon bones. Lindong chuckled. You are truly crazy. Yang sighed and replied. Otherwise, how can I possibly compete with the Ice Master? All of you have always held my potential with high regards. However, I am well aware of my own capabilities. Therefore, if I do not risk my life, wouldn't I simply end up as a joke? Lindong paused for a moment. His voice was somewhat hoarse as he replied. Yang was stunned. A short while later, he finally replied, You can be rest assured that I will help you. Lindong smiled, but he did not speak further. Slowly opening both his eyes, he realized that everything around him was dark. In fact, his mental energy perception was completely useless in this dragon transformation pool. After all, each time his mental energy reached out to probe his surroundings, those wild and violet energies would surge over and dissipate his mental energy. Devouring ancestral symbol, time to come out. Lindong softly muttered. Promptly, a deep black light slowly began to spread from within his body, before they transformed into a huge circular black hole behind him. Meanwhile, Lindong was seated within this black hole. Although it was also black in color, the black light from the devouring ancestral symbol was far deeper and purer, when compared to the darkness within the dragon transformation pool. Devour. A soft voice was emitted from Lindong's lips. In the next moment, the black hole began to slowly rotate. Waves of incomparably domineering devouring power were released. Following the release of the devouring power, an unusual commotion immediately erupted in the lake. The strange silence from before was broken instantly. The pool water vortexed, transforming into many black streams that flowed into that black vortex. Finally, they poured into Lindong's body. Humph! When those icy cold blade-like black water currents flowed into Lindong's body, his body began to tremble intensely. At this moment, it seemed as though his flesh was being sliced off a piece at a time. Meanwhile, a muffled sound was being emitted from his throat. Black energy surged onto Lindong's body. Finally, it barbarically broke through the hindrance from his veins and gathered above his black bones, causing the color of his metallic bones to deepen. An indescribable intense pain attacked Lindong's mind at this moment. Even with Lindong's determination, he still felt a giddiness surging within his mind at this moment. However, soon after, he pressed his mouth shut and forced himself to stay awake. After all, he knew that if he was to lose consciousness, the energy would rip his body apart and turn him into pure energy in the dragon transformation pool. Raw? Resplendent green light rose on Lindong's body at this moment. The green light gathered and transformed into an enormous green dragon-like figure that crouched behind him. As the color of Lindong's bones became increasingly darker, the green dragon behind him also seemed to have become increasingly lifelike. Green dragon scales flickered and appeared as though they were alive. An actual pressure quietly spread at this moment. Time slowly passed in an extremely dull fashion in this dark dragon transformation pool. 10 days passed by unknowingly. During these 10 days, Lindong's body was constantly in a state of convulsion. In fact, that intense pain caused his body to turn numb. Veins bulged on his skin as if they were about to break free from it. The green dragon crouching behind him was also becoming increasingly clear. In fact, it was even possible to sense its hot dragon's breath, and it looked as though this green dragon was alive. If one was to probe deep into Lindong's body at this moment, one would discover that the bones within his body were already jet black. However, there was an indestructible toughness under this blackness. At this moment, Lindong's bones were already extremely powerful. In fact, they were several times more powerful as compared to before he entered the dragon transformation pool. There were generally two things that the dragon tribe took pride in: their bloodline and physical body. Disregarding their bloodline, their physical body was supported by their bones. Hence, Lindong currently possessed an actual physical body that was comparable to the dragon tribe. This was his ultimate dream from a long time ago, when he first obtained his green heaven materialized dragon skill. At this moment, he had finally managed to accomplish it. Your dragon bones should have reached the strength of a top-grade dragon bone. Not bad, Yang said. Top-grade dragon bone, huh? That is still not good enough. Lindong opened his eyes. There was a wild heated ambition surging within his black eyes. You want the ancient dragon bone? Yang was slightly startled as he exclaimed in shock. Since I have came down to the dragon transformation pool, I naturally want the very best. Lindong smiled. Promptly, a thought passed through his mind. Immediately, the black hole vortex above him began to rotate rapidly before a frightening devouring power swept forth, creating huge waves in this quiet dragon transformation pool. This video will end here.